The Great Barrier Reef is located in the Coral Sea on Australia's northeastern coast. Once engulfed in vibrant colors, the reef has faded to gray, and the marine life struggles to survive in an ocean that's growing hotter by the day. Now, this isn't a distant future prediction. It's happening right now. Now, here's the terrifying reality. Temperatures in the Coral Sea have reached their highest levels in over 400 years. Now, what does this mean for the planet's most iconic natural wonders? Is there still time to save it? Welcome to That's Life, I swear. This podcast is about life's happenings in a world that conjure up such words as intriguing, frightening, life-changing, inspiring, and more. I'm Rick Barron, your host. That said, here's the rest of this story. As the planet's climate continues its relentless march towards a warmer future, the fate of one of the world's most precious natural wonders hangs on a thread. According to the latest research by Australian scientists, the generation alive today may bear witness to the tragic demise of the Great Barrier Reef unless swift and decisive action is taken to address the looming threat of climate change. Stretching along the northeastern coast of Australia, the Great Barrier Reef is 1,429 miles in length and is a marvel of biological diversity, a tapestry of life that has captivated the imagination of people across the globe. This underwater Eden contains a staggering 400 distinct species of coral, 1,500 types of fish, and 4,000 varieties of mollusks. Beyond its breathtaking beauty, the Great Barrier Reef also serves as a vital habitat for numerous endangered species, such as the iconic dugong or sea cow and the majestic green turtle. Now, these creatures, along with countless others, are woven into the delicate fabric of the reef. Their very existence depended on the health and resilience of this fragile ecosystem. Yet, as the planet's temperatures continues to rise, the fate of this natural wonder is up in the air. The warming of the surrounding ocean, driven by the relentless march of climate change, poses an even increasing threat to the very foundation of the Great Barrier Reef, its coral. As these intricate structures succumb to the ravages of heat and acid devication, the entire ecosystem teeters on the brink of collapse, with the potential for catastrophic consequences that will reverberate far beyond the shores of Australia. A disturbing new study published on August 7th of 2024 in the prestigious journal Nature has sounded the alarm on the impending doom facing this precious ecosystem. The findings, based on meticulous analysis of temperature data going back as far as 400 years, paints a very grim picture. The recent extreme heats in the Coral Sea surrounding the Great Barrier Reef have reached unprecedented levels, the likes of which have not been witnessed in at least 4 centuries. Now, the culprit behind this alarming trend is all too familiar: human-induced climate change, driven by the relentless burning of fossil fuels and the destruction of carbon-sequestering natural habitats like forests. As the greenhouse gas emissions continue to accumulate in the atmosphere, the oceans have absorbed much of the excessive heat, with devastating consequences for the delicate corals that form the very foundation of the Great Barrier Reef. The heat extremes are occurring too often for these corals to effectively adapt and evolve, warns Ben Henley, a professor at the University of Melbourne and a lead author of the study. He goes on to say, and I quote, "If we don't divert from our current course, our generation will likely witness the demise of one of Earth's great natural wonders, the Great Barrier Reef." End quote. The study's language, while laced with the measured tones of scientific inquiry, leaves little room for ambiguity. The researchers bluntly state that the existential threat to the Great Barrier Reef ecosystem from climate change is now realized. The implications of this impending strategy extend far beyond the geographical boundaries of the reef itself. The Great Barrier Reef is not just a breathtaking natural. The unraveling of this intricate ecosystem would reverberate throughout the global biosphere, leaving an indelible mark on the delicate balance of our planet. Tanya Propershik, the Environmental Minister of Australia, has acknowledged the gravity of the situation, stating that the government understands its responsibility to address the crisis and take concrete steps to safeguard the reef. Now, to this end, the government has enacted a new law that calls for a 43% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2030, a critical step in the battle against climate change. Additionally, the government has earmarked about $1.2 billion in targeted measures to directly protect the Great Barrier Reef. However, the challenges facing this natural marvel extend far beyond the borders of Australia. According to the scientific community, all of the world's coral reefs are now endangered by the rising temperature brought on by global warming. When exposed to excessive heat, the delicate coral structures undergo a process known as bleaching, where they lose the symbiotic algae that are essential for their survival. Without these crucial partners, the coral is left to wither and die, their vibrant colors fading into lifeless, ghostly white. Recent data paints a sobering picture of the scale of this crisis. From January 23 to August of 2023, a staggering 74% of the world's reef area has experienced heat stress levels sufficient to trigger widespread bleaching. This figure eclipses the previous record set between 2014 and 2017, when 65% of the reefs were affected. Now, the economic value of this irreplaceable resource has been estimated at a staggering $2.7 trillion per year, a testament to its importance in sustaining human activities such as fishing and tourism. So what does $2.7 trillion per year look like? Well, try this. Imagine trying to count every grain of sand on the world's beaches. It would take a lifetime, and still you'd fall short. Now picture that $2.7 trillion is like a massive sand dune, so large that if you spread it out, it would cover every beach on Earth in a blanket of wealth, one grain representing a $1 bill. It's a sum so vast that it transcends our daily comprehension, like trying to fathom the sheer volume all the world's oceans contain in a single drop of water. For Ben Henley at the University of Melbourne, and one of the authors of this groundbreaking new study, the Great Barrier Reef holds a deeply personal significance. Henley recalls his childhood memories of snorkeling on the reef with his father, marveling at the kaleidoscope of color and the absolutely spectacular diversity of life that thrived beneath the waves. It was these cherished recollections, coupled with a growing sense of unease about the reef's future, that prompted Henley and his colleagues to embark on a painstaking investigation into the reef's past. Wondering what kind of temperature extremes the Great Barrier Reef had endured before the onset of modern record-keeping, the researchers set out to uncover the secrets hidden within the limestone cores of the oldest living corals, some dating back nearly 400 years. It's like finding centurions and humans. There's not that many of them, observed Helen McGregor, a professor at the University of Wollongong and a co-author of the study. By analyzing the chemical signatures preserved within these ancient coral samples and then cross-referencing them with the historical ship logs, contemporary datasets, and advanced modeling techniques, the team was able to reconstruct 4 centuries of sea surface temperatures in the Coral Sea. The findings of this groundbreaking research have sent shockwaves through the scientific community as they reveal the unprecedented nature of the current heat extremes plaguing the Great Barrier Reef. Now, the implications are dire and straight to the point. If humanity fails to take decisive action to curb greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impacts of climate change, the future of this irreplaceable natural wonder is doomed. As the scientific team delved deeper into their research, their work was punctuated by increasing alarming events unfolding on the Great Barrier Reef itself. In the years 2020, 2022, and again in 2024, the reef was struck by devastating episodes of mass bleaching as global ocean temperatures shattered records and pushed the delicate system to the brink. Yet, undaunted by the gravity of the situation, the researchers pressed on carefully, incorporating each data point into their comprehensive analysis of the reef's history. The result, according to Stephen Palmby, a professor of marine biology at Stanford University, is a stunning, important summary of the history of the world's largest reef system, a testament to the tireless efforts of the study's authors. Palmby, who has served on a National Academy of Sciences committee focused on coral resilience, was not directly involved in the research. However, he recognized the profound significance of the findings, stating that the paper lays out the danger that corals all around the world face from this heat. As the team's work unfolded, a glimmer of hope emerged from the data. A temperature spike identified during the 1700s when the waters surrounding the Great Barrier Reef appeared to have been almost as warm as they are today. And this revelation prompted Ptolemy to wonder if it might hold the key to the reef's potential survival. Ptolemy said maybe these elders of the reef are better adapted to warmer water than the youngins born in 1920 or so, alluding to the possibility that certain coral reefs within the Great Barrier Reef may have evolved mechanisms to withstand similar heat stress in the past. Now, if this hypothesis holds true, these elder corals could become the focus of targeted efforts to breed heat-resistant strains, offering a potential lifeline for the embattled ecosystem. Now, the plight of the Great Barrier Reef has sparked a heated debate among coral experts, with a divide emerging over the potential efficiency of human intervention in the face of the looming climate crisis. On one side of the debate stands Hovey Hogan Goldenberg, a coral scientist who has been sounding the alarm on the devastating effects of the climate change on the world's reefs for decades. Hovey, a co-author of the groundbreaking study, is skeptical about the viability of selecting breeding and other human-assisted efforts to bolster the reef's resilience. He argues that the astronomical cost and the sheer scale of the challenge make such approaches impractical. Instead, Hovey advocates for a more fundamental shift, one focused on rapidly reducing greenhouse gas emissions to zero. In his view, the priority should be on protecting the reefs that are faring better as the oceans heat up, as they can serve as a spawning reefs to help repopulate and regenerate the devastated areas in the future. Now, on the other hand, there are those who see glimmers of hope in the potential of human interventions. Ben Henley, who fondly recalled snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef with his father, acknowledges the grim prognosis for the reef in the coming years. However, he holds out the possibility that if global action can limit warming to the lower level of the projected targets, there's a reasonable chance that his daughter and her generation can still marvel at the reef in their lifetimes. This divide within the scientific community reflects the complex and multifaceted challenges that the Great Barrier Reef now faces. Now, while some experts advocate for a singular focus on emissions reductions, others believe that a combination of strategies, including carefully targeted human assistance, may be the best path forward. Ultimately, the fate of this natural wonder hangs in the balance, and the choices made by the current generation will reverberate through the ages. Whether the Great Barrier Reef will endure as a living, breathing testament to the wonders of our planet, or succumb to the relentless march of climate change, remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the time to act is now, before the curtain falls on one of Earth's most precious and irreplaceable treasures. So what can we learn from this story? What's the takeaway? Well, what would happen without coral reefs? If all of the coral reefs in the world were to die, 25% of marine life would lose their habitat. There are roughly around 1 million different species that rely on coral reefs for food and shelter. According to the United Nations, around 1 billion people globally depend on coral reefs for their food and livelihoods. Now let that sink in for a second. Their disappearance would be catastrophic, resulting in hundreds of millions of people around the world losing their main source of food and income. On top of this, the shortage of seafood and diets would inevitably put pressure on other land-based farming industries who would be required to make up for the shortfall. Data talks. I hope the world is listening. Well, there you go, my friends. That's life, I swear. For further information regarding the material covered in this episode, I invite you to visit my website, which you can find on Apple Podcasts for show notes and the episode transcript. As always, I thank you for the privilege of you listening and your interest. Be sure to subscribe here or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. See you soon.